I just received a marketing plan.
Right, bonjour, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. How's everybody doing? Are we winning? Let's get a bit more Paramore in here. I don't know if it's gonna get my videos banned or what, but fuck it, we will. Let's turn it down a little bit. How's that volume to music ratio? Still in love with Taylor? Yeah, obviously, mate. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the bottom of the market stream with Charlie. Me, your host. Oh yeah, it's BTC Charlie. I actually haven't got that on this PC. Rip. I need to re-download it. Shows you how well prepared I am. I've actually been trading a fuck ton the last couple of days. I feel like I've aged about a century. Does everyone else sort of feel like that? Because it's I saw a tweet which is like, sometimes you wait weeks for that one day, and sometimes you have an entire week in a day. That kind of felt like yesterday. Yeah, how's everyone doing? Have you all enjoyed this wonderful environment for trading? Or are you all wiped out? Are you all poor? Are you going to be in my DMs begging me for $24 because it's a recession like some guy today? It's a pretty random amount if you ask me. $24. Normally I get like, please sir, can you spare 1 Bitcoin? Just casually asking for like $60,000. Oh yeah, hello, see? How's it going, lad? You're gonna start booting people if they're kicking off. Only in pair trades that completely turned on you? Yeah, mate, fucking hell. Pair trades. I went through a whole period of trying to pair trade, and just, they are great when they start off. Usually you get this and your P&L starts going like this, and then it just goes like that because it like literally fucking completely mean reverts, and you just get fucked. Like ETH Sol, for example, that was a great trade. You know, for the last few days. You can beg for money here. Yeah, beg for money. All you need. Just beg for whatever you want. Right, so let's jump into some shit, shall we? So the way the market's held up has been actually pretty good at this range low. Like for me, like the way I'm looking at this, I mean, I've been short since 72k, so up here. And obviously everyone fucking cried at me when I posted it on Twitter. No, Charlie, you can't do that. Yada yada yada. So those people, I kind of say, get fucked. I'll trade my own book. Everyone else should trade their own. And if people get upset by other people's trading positions, it just means you're a massive, massive pussy. Send 1 million. All right, Klaus, DM me your wallet. I'll send you 1 million TRY or something. What's like a really cheap currency? Can you go over your Pepe trade? I'd rather not relive that trauma, but yeah, let's fucking go. Thesis behind this short was, I think I've been over on other streams, which is like real simple. Parabolic curve, bosh, and then literal lower high. If any of you have ever seen like the Wall Street cheat sheet of, you know, the psychology of market cycles, like that is literally it. Like that is like it to a fucking T. Now, I'm not saying it's over, right? I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that cunt. I'll just show you the chart. This one. So, like, this is the kind of parabolic run up, and then we just need to call off the next rally. Like, we didn't actually have that euphoria peak quite as clean as this, right? If you go back to this, it's not quite as clean. But if you start putting that, like, next to this, you know, it's not particularly pretty. And it's real simple in terms of, like, your RR up here, of it not breaking, you know, previous highs. So the short was something like this. Actually averaged it up quite heavily, but whatever. It was something like this, wasn't it? It's on my Twitter somewhere. I think I targeted 40 just to piss people off, but the reality is that I think if we go down to 51, that'll be like the end. You know, we'll basically have a massive cup and handle, which is a bit of a meme TA pattern, but like, I still think we're in a bull market. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this absolutely fuck everybody over. You know, absolutely rinse salts. But for now, we're at range lows on BTC as long as this holds up, which it looks like, to be blunt, the market is betting that it will, right? If you look at the positioning since that sell-off and that reclaim, like, there have been some fucking mental rotations, particularly Popcat, which I've traded a lot today. You might have seen me tweet constantly about it, but it's because I need some exit liquidity, obviously. The books are illiquid as fuck, man. I dropped like a pretty small position in the books, and I think my profit number went down about 30%, which is great. But whatever. Market's chosen cats, yeah. So like stuff like Kai, Minette, Popcat, all that kind of stuff. Like they're bags that I've held for a long time. I've ridden Kai, for example, up from 0.3 to 2. So anyone who gives me grief for it can fuck off. You know, manage your own bags. But yeah, Popcat's been an absolute like joy to trade intraday. Pepe, I've banged on about Pepe for fucking weeks and weeks and weeks. And like this, turns out this was the low to hold. I'll go over my trade in a second once I'm done with BTC. But like for me, we are like literally, and I know this is a fucking meme, right? This is like the classic YouTuber meme of like, oh my god, this zone must hold, open mouth breather, like type thing. But this, like, this is like literally crunch time now. Like I'm watching basically these levels. They're marked green and red for reasons. The reason being that if we can hold this, then we probably see, you know, at least a reversion to mid-range. And if we get that, great. Alts are going to go fucking bananas. We're going to have a nice little risk on summer, despite everyone saying that summer's boring, blah, blah, blah. It will actually be, you know, a reasonable week or two. Maybe it then dies or whatever, but, you know, this is where it's kind of real time to pay attention. I think on my Outlook yesterday when I did it for the group, you know, I was saying that, you know, this is basically a decision point. And I used that, like, meme of, you know, the guy leaning in, because it's actually like this is really time to start paying attention and see how the market reacts. At the minimum, we're going to get volatility, right? And that is what we're here for. Like when we traded like the weekend, we traded in like a 1% range for like 48 hours. It's absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Popcat, the doge of the cycle of uptrend continues. Yeah, maybe. I mean, like we've already had whiff. So that was me going through one of my rotations. Should we do that on stream? Nah, fuck that. We'll delete all that shit. Yeah, I recorded a video on like one of the rotations I took on Popcat today. It was a reasonable trade. I basically sold the top up here somewhere, and that's where I got slipped a little bit, but it is what it is. You know, it has this nice run range, deviation range. I would quite like it to do the same again. You know, simple little deviation reclaim, and maybe get in on some form of relative strength, but on low time frame, right? Because the beta of this is so good. It's been so good. But anyway, going back to Popcat. So yeah, for me, like, I don't want to take a fresh Bitcoin position. I'm quite happy in my position at the moment. I've got no intention of closing. You know, it's my protection against the downside of the market. If the market drops, then my strategy of longing altcoins on rotations is fucked. Basically, it doesn't work very well. It does work for the odd alt that's basically usually a manipulated coin. So something like TRB, right? So when TRB was going like this, like it was really fun to long, and everything else was kind of just meandering and doing fuck all. There will almost always be some form of opportunity like that in this market, right? Because you got to keep the gamblers here somehow, right? But at the moment, we've got a lot of risk on at these lows, and I am worried that if we start unwinding some of that risk because Bitcoin starts selling off, it's going to be fucking savage. But let's just trade what's in front of us. We are at the range lows essentially, depending on where you obviously draw it, what time frame, etc. Like it changes a little bit, but if you use the objective version of VRVP, you know, you would objectively say it's about there. So as long as we're holding up in this area, we can be reasonably confident But as soon as we start dipping down here again, I think we're going to see a pretty fucking brutal sell-off. And that's where stink bids will come in nicely, particularly on illiquid alts, like Pepe, Popcat, for example. So marking up some levels and having some idea of where you want to set stink bids is probably the play. So that, you know, you're excited if there's downside opportunity, you know, your positions are stopped, and you take a small loss, whatever. But you're excited at the opportunity of actually buying lower, or like even if it's just a reversion bounce, right? Lights out level, yeah, and it is a meme, but it's also not a meme, right? Like, it wouldn't be unreasonable to have some reversion after like basically a ridiculously strong downtrend. You know, it went down only for how many days? Yeah, nearly 3 weeks. So a little bit of reversion, kind of to be expected. Oh, VRVP finally drew the range for us, but whatever. You know, if you want to be taking aggressive long, like this is probably it, but it's not there for me. I'm holding pop out of spot? No, unfortunately not, mate. I've been trading on an intraday basis, on a rotational basis today. But the one that I traded, I do have some spot of, is Pepe. So Pepe, I've been banging on about this. If any of you have been on my timeline in the last however many weeks, you'll see that I've basically been trading. I've been trading on an intraday basis a lot ever since my little accident, like with a slightly smaller balance than I'm used to, purely because like I was a bit worried that I might have been a bit slow after like the concussion and all that kind of shit. But I actually fucking killed it, to be honest. Like I think my win rate was like 69%, which is giggity, and that's quite high for me. I don't know if, you know, other people are better or whatever, but it was good. So I basically traded like loads and loads and loads of these rotations. When we sold off yesterday, I'll talk you through what I did in this area here, because that's basically where I fucked it. I've been obviously like in the Pepe books all day, every day. I was watching this sell off, and I was waiting for like a break of this trend line essentially, and like some strength to return to the market. Here, obviously a nice sell off, but I didn't go for it. Partly because like up here, when the market started going up, Pepe wasn't that strong in this rotation. Actually, no, it might have been strong. Yeah, it was strong in this rotation, sorry. It was this rotation that it was crap. And I'm just making that up completely, aren't I? Fuck me. Alright. Let's go to the 1 minute, because that's what I was fucking looking at. Alright. It was one of these rotations where it was complete dog shit. I wouldn't have been up at that time, so that doesn't make any sense. I think it was this rotation where it was shite, this rotation where it was quite good, and then this rotation it wasn't particularly wonderful compared to the rest of the market, but I was still like pretty hot on it in terms of what knowing that I wanted to trade it, basically. There are a couple of reasons for it. Like, if you zoom out, obviously a higher time frame picture that we've painted for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is this. Lower time frame or medium time frame picture, I suppose, in terms of like the hourly. There was basically this across the lows. Where are we going? Across the lows here, and you know we'd basically deviated under that, and then we had the big sell-off in terms of, you know, that massive wick, and then what we actually saw once Bitcoin started catching a bid was that kind of strength, right? And for me, I didn't see the rotation on Pepe until here, and that candle there was basically that was where we got the strength on here, and that's like usually my entry trigger, right? Like I need relative strength to tell me that I'm longing pretty much the best or one of the best coins out there, and that's what I want. Oh my god. Fuck off. Like, I need this to be able to tell me that actually, yeah, this is a pretty strong coin compared to the rest of the market, and it's outperforming it, and it's probably going to outperform it, right? So I longed here up to here, and like my average got a little bit high. And I literally had like an average of something like this. And then when we came down, I was basically sort of sweating in this position down here. Because I just didn't react. I just didn't close it. I didn't take any size off. I went in with size up here, and then I literally just ate the dick of drawdown. Like down here, I was like, "Ooh, this is not looking good, bruv." And like in my head, I had this like imaginary resistance, support, etc. And we just kept teetering with it. So I basically held a pretty decent sized position in drawdown for far longer than I should have, and it was just not. I mean, it's only a couple of percent, but I was playing a breakout, and the breakout failed. And when the breakout fails, I should just cut. That's it. I just take the L and move on. But I gave back, like down at the lows, like 2%, which doesn't sound like much, but when it's a decent amount, it is. And I just had to sort of sit there really, and it was a bit of a normally one of my main skills around execution, because I'm playing low time frame rotations and because I'm like an avid gamer. I have been for years. I've got pretty good reflexes, reactions. I think it was just the fuckery that kind of froze my brain, because if you look at it, like the initial sell-off, like instantly bounced, like instantly, very very strong bounce, went back over, and then suddenly it just like literally died, and it was like, oh okay, went for it again, and then just died, and like this whole time was just a little bit like, God, my execution in trading rotations was was really good, to be blunt. Like I was actually on form, maybe because it was a slightly smaller account, I didn't care as much. Maybe it was because I was a little bit more switched on, as I have been lately. But yeah, I kind of fucked that. And then what happened when we got up to here was I added. Sorry, I probably added about up here actually, because my average was around this in the end. And I literally, like when we started breaking out, like that was the trade that I was waiting for. And this again was on relative strength. So I just thought, right, fuck it. Like my idea wasn't wrong, but my timing was wrong, and my management of this trade was awful. So I wrote that up, and I actually closed a lot of it here. Here? When did I get up this morning? I think it was like here, basically, with the intention of getting back in once the trend started reversing. But I didn't on my perp position, which is a shame. But instead, I was playing with PopCat. So that's kind of like thought process of low time frame rotations and stuff. It's one of those ones where, how do I put it? That there were some like real good trades before that, actually. Some real good rotations. But yeah, that's one example. Since someone was asking about it, I'd pronounce your name Amir Hussein Kodenhas. I butchered the last part, but it was a good effort. So yeah, that was kind of one of my rotational plays, and obviously a bit of spot Pepe you kind of can't get wrong with, because I've been looking at this for fucking time, right? It just needs to go now. It just needs to never retest this. That's it. This is the breakout. Pepe is the meme of the cycle. Let's fucking go. Let's pretend I didn't ignore it at 300k market cap. Even though I was looking at it on the deck screener because my friend pointed it out, but I was too ill. I was like, I don't want to gamble today. But yeah, like it just looks great, right? A couple of things just from a high time frame perspective. We kind of crossed that daily 50 RSI. Like it just looks great in terms of like former highs. Test that former high and then go. Like it's one of my favorite patterns. I've tweeted about it so many times. Create a high, retest the high, and that's all time high, by the way, and then just go. Alt seems to do that quite a lot. Like, look at it. Looks beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And PopCat, I mean, well, PopCat was just kind of sat in a range, right? but it is like ridiculously high beta. Not the cleanest. In fact, I'll probably do a volume profile and actually look at it properly, but yeah. I'm getting a little momentum div on the 4 hour. So maybe we see a pullback at some point. You know, do I want to short this? Absolutely fucking not. I'm not retarded. Like, there probably is a short to be had at some point, but what's the point? Like, look at it. It is literally pointing as up and to the right as you can possibly get. You'll take it. Yeah, sorry, mate. Am I looking for relative strength coming from the bottom or above Bitcoin? What do you mean, mate? So, I see what you're asking. So, I look for both. Let me just find the example that I shared in the group. So, this is what I shared in the group earlier. And I was like, alright, this is a 5-second chat, right? So when people are like, are you really down on the low time frames? I'm like, yeah, I really fucking am down on the low time frames. And this, in terms of time, was what, 13:23 my time. So let's go roughly to that. So it was here. So it's basically this price action, right? Now, you're looking at this, and like, what do you see? What do you guys see? What's this telling you? Any of you get anything from this? Is it telling you anything? Is it telling you I've colored my charts like a 2-year-old? Which is what Magus keeps telling me, and I need to change it. Come on, I'm not moving on until someone says something. Be brave. Be brave. If no one says anything, then clearly you haven't watched my streams for long enough. Is it selling more than the rest? Yeah. Somewhat selling yellow for purple. Yeah. Popcat's not strong. It's dipping, yo. Can't read the tickers on the phone. Oh, fair enough. That's a good excuse. So yeah, basically, that this whole move by Popcat. So there's two things to point out. One is CKB is much stronger than the rest of the market, right? All of this is just like, it's all moving together, right? It's all boring. Like, this is boring. It's all in that like beta band of movement. Like other power? Yeah, I'll have a look at it later, mate. Remind me when I invariably get lost in the source. Whereas Popcat, it's having like a bit of a downturn, right? And it's been having that since, you know, I don't know, 3 minutes past 1 or something. So if we go back to Popcat, right? So 3 minutes past 1. It's about here. So what we actually had at this point is we actually had a nice little rising wedge, and usually, especially on, you know, exceptionally in play coins, given at this point, you know, where were we, like half one, Popcat was like still by far the best performing asset, right? Like, it's absolutely great in terms of like that last dip. So it was here. So do we think that this is going to revert to the upside, or do we think it's just going to continue kind of going down? Like, my premise was is going to revert at some point, and it's going to revert probably quite quickly, because it's so in play, and that this sell-off is a bit of an anomaly. And, you know, you play the trend until you're wrong, basically, and you will be wrong at some point. You'll play this exact same logic later after the stream, tomorrow, 3 days time, whatever it is, and it will just do this, right? It'll just completely retrace that move, that strong kind of parabolic move up. But that's why you manage your stops, right? So first port of call is, or was, let's just take some of that out. You know, where are you wrong? Well, once we've taken like anything under here, Actually, we had a quite strong move, and then this candle here, I'm not going to go into too much. This candle here was a very strong candle on the low time frame relative strength. It was basically the initiation for the next move up, which obviously was to here. Got another rotation down, like once we've broken that downtrend, sorry, that uptrend essentially, we just like sold off at a peak, at a massive peak of volume as well. So if you look at that, like Bosch, nice points to coincide together once you swept these highs, and obviously crushed everybody who had stops under there for any short positions. So it's kind of one of those, and then if you wanted to, you could ride it back up here if you sold up here, etc, etc. And there's like another trade in it again. This was on relative strength, it was on high volume, it was on a breakout of a low time frame downtrend, and then we've got more kind of simple range consolidation, etc. up here. What the fuck was that? Presumably someone just aping in a fuck ton, literally at the highs trying to break it out. Nice. Bit janky, but we take it. Let's go see what's going on the 5 second. Yeah, look at that. Fuck me. Someone wants that popcat. Like Bitcoin going up. Popcat absolutely outperforming it all. Like, it's always interesting when Bitcoin is the #1 beta. Well, not #1. I mean, it's like Popcat is outperforming it, obviously, but it's #1 relative to most altcoins, right? There you go. Someone got some chilled lo-fi or whatever it is. Collective short term. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of you kind of got it right in terms of like that's the balance. So when you asked and your question was, are you interested in the downside or the upside? The truth is, I'm just not interested in anything in the middle. I'm not interested in anything that's hugging BTC, right? If it's doing exactly what BTC is doing, I might as well just go trade that. The rationale being that it's more liquid, I'll get much better fills, lower fees, lower chance of a big like -8% candle because some dev somewhere has discovered their fat stack of Pepe or Popcat or whatever bullshit coin we're trading, right? Like that to me is a price well worth paying if you're playing with size as well. But if you are looking for that high beta or those high beta Bitcoin moves with smaller size, then obviously you want to be trading alts because they're usually going to massively outperform. He says that this rotation is basically a Bitcoin rotation and Popcat. But this is why I love Spaghetti so much, because it just tells you that if you want to trade anything like right at this second, or even heading into it, you should have been well aware of Popcat as exceptionally high beta, which it is proving to be. Dev's already dead. Yeah, when I look at a chart, the first thing I ask myself is the dev dead? Satoshi Nakamoto. Did you cover Spurdo? No, because I don't own it, my friends do. So fuck them, it's going to 0. Charlie mentioned before, waiting for EMA crosses to exit swings. I'm in Popcat from the low. Is that something you would apply here? It's always because it's a meme faster proper taking is better. Ooh, that's a very good question. And like generally, it's a difficult one to answer because a lot of it like depends on you and your risk appetite and all that kind of stuff, and like your view of the wider market in general. And what I mean by that is like, are you like how I try and inform my positional biases is exactly what we talked about at the start, right? Which is what's the kind of wider context of the market? Bearing in mind we're at range lows, okay? So we're at range lows on Bitcoin. Now, if you've got a really solid view of this and you truly believe that this was a once in a generation opportunity for dip buying and that we're going to hold and that we're probably going to go back to at least mid-range, if not range highs, then yeah, you're going to get a lot out of Popcat, right? Because it's very high beta and it's running hard. and it'll probably keep running until we get that sell-off on BTC, whenever that comes. And it will come, whether it's here at the mid-range, here at range highs, or here at 80k or 100 or whatever, who the fuck knows, but it'll pull back at some point, right? Like with Popcat itself, like, and the chart that, you know, is in front of us, like, for me, Popcat is all just like a big range, which I kind of covered earlier in terms of a bit messy, but bear with me. Like, ignoring kind of some of the price action on the left, like, this is probably the range that I'd be like semi-looking at. It gets a bit shit. Let's go 4 hour. Because it is a liquid, right? Let's not fucking kid ourselves. It's pretty illiquid. I smashed market sell on what I consider to be a pretty small order earlier, and it just fucking rinsed the candles. But yeah. You know, if you believe that we're at the bottom of the range and we're going to go mid-range range highs, because let's be honest, all altcoins are just beta of Bitcoin, Bitcoin sells off, altcoins are fucked, then great, you want to be holding this for as long as possible. I personally like the fact that it's basically just shot the fuck to range highs, and just, you know, it's basically the most aggressive meme coin in the market that isn't, that's on centralized exchanges. If you want to start thinking about trend following it, because it is unobjectively losing momentum in terms of like these RSI, like here, like that is obviously lower than that. The momentum on the awesome oscillator is lower. Doesn't mean it can't just fucking fire up, right? But yeah, trend following it from like an hourly or 30-minute or something EMA is not a bad way to go, well, I'm going to try and ride this trend for as long as I possibly can. And if we do sell off and we retest the EMA, right, what am I going to do? Well, probably nothing. And if it doesn't bounce and it just goes like this, that's when I'll cut. There's not really much to like go off in terms of market structure or anything like that, even like on lower time frame. And depending on how aggressive you personally want to be, because, you know, if we hit this range high, let's say we pop up now, and we pop up for like, you know, another 5-6%, whatever that is, and then we sell off, like, is that it? Are you done? Or do you think that actually it's gonna pull back? Like, systematically, I like EMAs. I like EMAs, especially if you're in from the low and you just sell when it comes back to your EMA, and you've probably creamed out, yeah, almost a fucking 2x. So GG. But you have got a decent position in the strongest alt in the market right now. Yeah, you can even structure it a bit differently. So you say 50% on an EMA, break, or 50% on a change in market structure. And by change, I mean like let's just delete everything so you know what I mean by this. So you've basically got, you know, from an hourly perspective, you've got this, haven't you? So you'd want to see a sell-off, but you'd want to see us not break this low. Because if it breaks that low, then you've changed that market structure. You've actually got a lower low here. Does that make sense? So like putting a stop here, like hard stop, and then just trying to trend follow it with your simple EMA. Yeah, probably 30 minutes or hourly. Does that make sense? That's what I tend to do for like higher time frame spot positions. But you have to really determine your own risk appetite. Like for me, Pepe is like my exposure to the upside, if that makes sense. Like I want some Pepe because if I haven't all-in the reclaim of the range low, I am wrong. And I have to deal with that, and I should have all in my entire net worth, but at least I've got this bag of Pepe, right? So, you know, that's kind of my protection to upside. Like, I got a lot of on-chain stuff, but obviously on-chain stuff goes up and down very, very fucking quickly, and yeah, it's very volatile. And we're quite risk-off on-chain at the moment. With, like, only a few coins really flying. Please take your shirts and pants off, please. What makes you think I'm wearing any shirt and pants, mate? like that you think I'm not just sat here bollock naked. So yeah, you can just grab spaghetti here. I'm wearing clothes. Yeah, West Yorkshire reporting in. Well, I'm somewhere in the UK and I'm sweating my bollocks off as well. Sadly. You have to add, yeah, you have to add each ticker. It's not like major juju, right? I'm not trying to like sell it as something secret. I think using it and using it well takes time, which I would say. Obviously, I run the Paragon, and that's an educational group, where you can learn a lot more about it. But like, the reality is the principle is very simple. It's the performance of a given asset since a point in time. So you're in shorts, listening to Charlie and the Bitcoin tape, legend. What a fucking dream. So let's go on to some other coins, shall we? So basically cover my two favorites, which is Popcat and Pepe. I've literally rammed Pepe down people's throats, so you know, if people aren't in Pepe positions of some description, then I don't know what to fucking say, to be honest. You know, it's up pretty bigly. Like, I'm not sure how other memes have fared. Yeah, fuck you, bonk. Whiff. Oh, Whiff's done better. Yeah, Popcat, the real winner. So if you're not into memes and you want like a bit more, how do I put it, quote unquote legitimate coins, there's probably quite a bit to go after. I want to talk about Doge. Everyone kind of memes Doge a lot, and like a lot of OGs like Doge. Like I personally like this deviation at this level and the reclaim, but I'm unlikely to like take a position on Doge, like a fresh position. I took a position from the breakout down here somewhere. It was like literally this, way back in February, and I caught pretty much all of this move, and it was a pretty decent fucking trade, and I ended up selling most of it here, or no, half of it here, and the rest of it down here. So I took a lot of profit on this one because it was a good size position, because my invalidation was so close. I'm not sure it was exactly that. It might have even been this or something. But yeah, my actual target was much higher. So from an R perspective, it was absolutely incredible. But does it offer the same R as, you know, other meme coins? Absolutely not. Like we had in the 12% move versus Bonk, which did what, 18, Pepe which did 22, which did 30, and Popcat which did a 2x. So, oh, I don't like this though. Like all those divergences. I'm not saying I'll short this, but yeah, these resolve very violently usually. Either just with a fuck you candle to like kind of reignite momentum, or a fuck you candle to just absolutely kill it. So we'll keep a BDI on the old Popcat. I'm kind of hoping that it's that one, given the context of the actual coin itself. What's going on BTC? Oh yeah, we've had a pretty decent move on Bitcoin. What else? How much leverage do I use? 10x. But it's not about leverage, it's about position size. So let's say I want to trade with $1 million. I can just put $100,000 on the exchange, and I can use 10x leverage. I have to think about things like the margin maintenance requirement, the positions and stuff like that. But that's the only real reason to use leverage, is reduce exchange risk. What? Am I really bold like CBS said? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no way CBS called me bold. That absolute monkey. Yeah, hopefully that's leverage covered. It's not about leverage, it's about position size, and it's about where your stop is. Like that's all that matters. Like, where are you wrong? Where's your stop? How much are you willing to lose is the big question that I always fucking say to people, right? Especially newer people. Like, I'm taking on this trade. Okay, like I'm gonna long popcat here, right? I got a long popcat here, and let's say I've got a $10,000 account, right? And I only have $10,000 to play with. That $10,000 is a lot of money, just to be clear, but you know. And I'm gonna say, right, well, this is my kind of trade thesis, and the reason that my thesis is this is because if we go under here, then actually, you know, this whole meme wedge thing hasn't worked. The theory of it breaking up hasn't worked, and this is where I'm wrong. Like, okay, right, so this position is 3.6% down. Now, if I put $10,000 in this, I'm going to lose $363 if I'm wrong, plus fees, right? And plus any funding for however long it takes to resolve, unless I cut it manually, yeah? But do I want to lose 3% on this trade? Probably not. Usually your risk management rules are like 0.5 or 1%, maybe even 2% of your portfolio, right? So instead of putting $10,000 in, let's just make the maths reasonably easy and say that it's like 3%. And we'll say we'll put a $3,333 position on. So that if I lose 3% on that, it's actually my $100, which is my risk, which is my 1% of my $10,000. Yeah? So, like, that's always, to me, the most important thing about like, leverage, position size, all that. How much do I want to lose? How much could I win? Is it worth paying this to potentially get that, given the scenario and the structure, right? And that's what you're always trying to do, is work out, is this a plus EV bet or not? Because you only have to be right, you know, whatever that is, probably 40% of the time for it to pay off in the long run. I'm not sure that maths quite works, but you get my point. I'm not quite sure what 2.73 in terms of payback is. But hopefully you get my point. How high will Bitcoin go this cycle? It's a really good question, and if I could answer that, I'd just go and buy options, go balls deep on it, and that would be me done. Like, my personal feeling is that the cycle isn't over. But, and here's the but I do think that if this reclaim is like the long that is, you know, the kind of last, if this is the last dip before 100k, I will be shocked. I'll be absolutely shocked. And I am not, you know, balls deep back in the market. Like, I'm playing several coins and low caps and stuff, but like, I'm not like all in net worth here. And maybe I should be. Maybe this is the invalidation that you need. And actually, that was the biggest sell-off that you're going to get, because now the ETFs are here. And actually, if you think about it structurally, they probably don't want to sell a product that looks like a parabolic run-up and then fucking dies after. But who knows? Like, I genuinely think that if we start gaining some momentum, that, you know, 100k will be pretty easy. A lot of people use fibs and all this kind of bullshit, but as soon as we start making our way up to like 88k, I just think people are going to get euphoric about that. 6-figure Bitcoin, and just get, you know, there's going to be so much hype. I think hype would carry it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my thought process, Jake. Like, I've got some spot BTC. Oh, because I have a YouTube Premium. Skanky fucker. What's I saying? Yeah, I think it goes to like 100k this cycle. I don't see why not. I would just, like I said, be surprised if it just cleanly goes up there. Let's go back to PopCat. How's our like live thought process working out? Not great. But premium's very high. Yeah, probably. What's wrong with being bald? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing's wrong with being bald. There's nothing wrong with being bald whatsoever. It's just that is inevitably my fate at some point. Judging by the male side of my family. So I'm kind of enjoying my hair while I've got it, if that makes sense. Bald. Yeah, blue bald by the market. But anyway, enough talk about hair. How do you use RSI? I don't really use it that much anymore. I mean, I use it in the context of what we just said, which is, like, I will look at the divergences of price doing this, prices going up, and the momentum, the RSI, is going down. So, like, if you really wanted to short MOG, this is definitely one of your better places to take it, but I'm just not that brave and or foolish, right? Like, sorry, not MOG, PopCat. I just saw the next comment. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's a little lesson on position sizing and all that kind of stuff. What else? That's RSI. Thoughts on MOG? I quite like the mogged thing of, like, you got mogged. Like, this is starting to sound like a fucking granddad now. But, you know, the little laughing face and the pointing. Like, I like that. That's quite a good, it's quite a good insult on Twitter. Not that I particularly like insulting people, but it's just funny. I mean, what do you want me to say about this? Like, there's not really that much to talk about, and it looks illiquid as fuck, even though it's like spot buy bit. I mean, I quite like these big sort of, Magus calls these the big booty patterns, but usually these kind of resolve like this in terms of like that meme cup and handle before the next leg up. I'd like it more if this had like pushed above and that this was a retest of former all-time highs, but it's obviously got this like janky price action in it. It just looks illiquid as fuck. I mean, in terms of taking like a fresh position here, it's you've got a clear invalidation, right? You do not want, and this is going to be the biggest box. Like, this is like a Donald box, like a 10% box, you know, like, let's take up half the fucking screen box. No disrespect, obviously, but it's, you know, big boxes. Like, basically, you don't want it to reaccept into this. And for me personally, like, if it's not the highest beta altcoin out there, and if it's not got some form of like interesting narrative or something like that, I'm not that interested in it, to be honest. But yeah, it's obviously had a very nice little run. Already halfway there on the board side. Nah, it's good, man. So we had shaving. What about bottom coins like ADA? I think the problem with stuff like ADA is it's not the fact that they won't run at some point, because I assume that they will, right? And they will move. But if you compare like the likes of ADA, like the movement that we had on ADA here, it's pretty much like any in-play coin, like during this period, right? Like Rune or something like that, you know, you got 200% from the like pico lows of ADA, right? So let's not fucking kid ourselves. None of us are probably going to get that entry, right? None of us. Like, I certainly don't trade like that. I would trade like this. Like, the trade I might take on ADA would be some form of like meme diagonal with a strength candle in it, and then go, oh, actually, I'll get that. So, you know, and then I certainly wouldn't sell the highs. I'd probably be selling down here once we actually, you know, lost some form of structure. But my point being that most coins outperform this. So why would you look to take this trade, which is a lagging trade on a weak asset, in the hope that someday ADA does something. Now, there is a difference if you understand the fundamentals behind ADA. Just as an example, right? I don't mean ADA, right? Just the coin or the asset. And you know that actually this asset has been pretty dead for a long time, but it's got X happening, it's got Y happening, it's got this happening, it's got that happening, it's got all these future catalysts, which are actually pretty massive. And, the market might not think they're massive, just to be clear. It might just be your interpretation. But if you are interpreting that these things are going to be very, very big for said coin, then you might have discovered something that is mispriced. So you are saying the price of this asset based on the future information available to me and to the rest of the market, just bear that in mind, is massively mispriced, right? So there is a view to take that I understand, which is if you can interpret all of these kind of catalysts as bullish and positive, and you've got experience doing that and it's reasonable, etc., then go for it. But usually, most of these are just fucking dead, right? Unless they serve a purpose and help you in some way, like you stake it for rewards, or you run nodes, or it pays you some form of dividend, like the revenue that it makes from whatever, and there's a discounted cash flow basis to kind of prop up the fact that the valuation and the appreciation might be shit. I just don't see any reason. And you are talking to the guy and asking the guy who uses relative strength as the basis for most of his trading, right? So when you're asking me about that stuff, just sort of keep in mind that I'm always looking for the best coin to trade. And if it's not on here, and if it's not showing some form of like bit of relative strength, like Popcat's just flying, right? Like it's very high beta, and when it starts running to the upside, it just starts going. Like, why would I not want to be in a coin that is doing this, or has a much better chance of doing this? Like, ADA's on here, I think, somewhere, but it's down here. XRP. Why would I be long XRP? Why would I belong CRV? Why would I belong Matty? Why would I belong any of that dog shit? I'm going for anything up here, basically. I want to, like, massively outperform Bitcoin, right? Otherwise, I might as well just trade Bitcoin. Hopefully that makes sense and answers your question. There's also, like, essentially, like, a cost of capital risk, like, sticking it in something like ADA, when in that time that you're waiting for ADA, you probably could have taken several other opportunities. And some of the best gains in the market are from, or that that I know people have made, is from going into one meta and going, right, LDO is going to run, position in LDO, it runs, does a 10x, happy days. You now take half of that capital, you stick it in, I don't know, Aptos, that runs, you've just like quadrupled your money, which was like the start of 2023. You've absolutely grown a small portfolio into a massive one because you've timed good rotations. But in order to be able to do that, and all this while, ADA was probably doing this, right? Doing fuck all. Which is why I always go for the stuff that's moving. Because even if it's wrong, you can just cut it. You go back to the drawing board, look for the next one. It's okay to be wrong, I guess. And why long laggards? Like, why would you not want to be long Popcat? I just don't. Like not right now necessarily, but I just mean, like, why would you not be wanting to try and find that? $60K being touched is a problem? Not really. Not a problem. I said thinking PYR looks good. Would you mind trying? Yeah, most of my gaming coins are absolutely in the bin. I'll have a look at PYR and Palm. Not Palm. Pal. Although Palm's actually had a reasonable bounce from the low. It's a shame. I shared it there. It ran up. and now it's obviously down at 0. Lovely. Where are we at? PYR, bosh. So that was my thought process on PYR. I mean, again, it's just come back into this range, hasn't broken out. Like for me, like this strength here, or lack of strength, I should say, just isn't good. Like the best outcome would be that. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully that helps. I haven't looked at PAL in ages. I think it was actually the last stream that we talked about it in terms of talked about AI rotation and is AI over and all of that kind of stuff. And I actually think there's a couple of AI themes that are not over. But I think AI as a tag along to kind of any project. Oh, we're an AI project now. Oh yeah, great. Have a 10x multiplier applied to you. Do you know what I mean? I think that era is pretty much over. I think there are elements of AI that will run. So I put some money in like a small cap that's actually around like an AI marketplace, but it's kind of too low cap to really talk about. But yeah, like for me, PAL, like if you want to be bullish on PAL, you just need to see it flip this high time frame pivot, right? Like this. Pretty clear that this is like an intense level that the market pays attention to, and if we can blast above it and flip it, then that's like a you know, pretty decent long from a rotational perspective. You know, RSI is kind of historically marked at the bottom in terms of the overextensions, both on the upside, even if it's just temporary, and on the downside. So it's not been, you know, it's respected the extremes of RSI. Not that it means it will kind of again, but you know, we are heading into resistance on the daily, and we're heading into essentially the resistance on RSI on the daily. So this would be like equilibrium in terms of momentum. Excuse me, my voice is going. Yeah, on top of everything, I've got a lump on my vocal cords apparently because I talk too much, which is absolutely bollocks because I sit in my room all day and I don't talk to many people. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be like particularly bullish PAL here. Like, I'd be waiting for that flip, and then I would be hopeful for continuation up, if that makes sense. And that's why I like real high time frame pivots, especially if they're clean, because it just gives you a level where you're wrong, right? Does that answer your question? Got to go, neighbours mowing the lawn, can't hear shit. First time here, thanks for the stream. Ah, cheers, default captain. Well, if you like it, if you want to come back, I normally do them weekly. I just had a couple of weeks off because I was in a car accident a few weeks ago, and I just basically had concussion, whiplash, all that kind of shite, and just didn't feel like it, to be blunt. Didn't feel like streaming. Thought it'd give me a massive headache, and yeah, just didn't want to do it. But we're all good now, all coming back. And hopefully that's it. Got a new car ordered, so everyone's happy. Apart from the insurers, but insurers are cunts, so fuck them. Yeah, if you like it, just subscribe. I've got a couple, the next couple actually scheduled, so that you know, it'll remind you and it'll pop up and all that kind of stuff. You on a 0.01? Bro, where's my DM? 0.01 on PAL. Fucking hell. That's mental. I mean, yeah, like when it was up here, that is, you know, the fact that it never tagged the dollar really took the piss. But yeah, it is a very good AI coin. Very good. And the revenue share and all of that stuff, you probably made an absolute fortune. Was it the Bugatti? No. It's a family car. Oh, cheers, Fairborn. That's very kind of you. Yeah, cheers, Mr. Smith. Got 0.6, we get higher someday. Yeah, I mean, if you boys got in that low, do you know what I mean? I'm hoping that you kind of took your initial out after like a 21x, 22x or something like up here. Do you know what I mean? And you haven't just bag held it and rode it to zero, but not zero, but you know. Rumor of subscriber Tesla giveaway. I'll see if I can get one from Mr. Musk. Taking more than 10x out? Ah, that's fucking great, man. Like, if you've taken more than 10x out, like, to me, that's an absolutely incredible trade. Absolutely incredible. You know, you're kind of done with it then, aren't you, in terms of, like, this is now just a free ride, free bag, moon bag. If it runs, great. If it doesn't, fuck it. Well, a lot of people have been talking about RLB. I was going to say I haven't looked at it for ages. It's literally at the lows down here. Madness. I remember when it was the talk of the bear market. I guess we flock away from degenerate gambling. The degenerate gamble on perps. What else do we want to talk about? I suppose we should talk about some of the actual ETH, the real coins like Ethereum. Obviously ETH BTC has had a very, very good time, I believe, the last few days, weeks, months, years, whatever. Well, the last literal couple of days. ETC done. Ooh, ETC is actually a very nice fucking high time frame pivot. Jesus Christ. That's a fucking clean chart, isn't it? We'll wake up, you'll wake up one day and ETC, I might even go fucking YOLO on this one. You'll wake up and if ETH goes, ETC will just do like 90% in one candle because it's such a liquid piece of shit that no one fucking trades. And then everyone will be like, oh, is the ETH beta? And it'll just fucking pop. Like, oh, it's cheaper Ethereum, guys. It's $23, not 4,000. ETH dominance, yeah, ETH dominated market. I'm gonna leave that there for future reference. Where's ETH BTC? So yeah, pretty strong move, pretty strong bounce again. But ETH itself, obviously I've got like spot ETH and I've had spot ETH for a fucking age. Again, it's just like at what I would consider to be quite a pivotal level in terms of this. Like that was a huge deviation, that held up. You know, rejection. Like it's quite clean and that's a rejection. So like again, you can just be really simple and be like, oh, I'm kind of bullish on ETH above here, but if it loses this, then you know, I kind of like that's where I should be selling my spot bags, my spot ETH bags, because if it starts going like that, it's pretty fucked. Like that was the ETF news. My opinion about ammo? I haven't actually looked at the ammo chart, but I imagine it looks like shit. Yeah, very good. Great. It's very good. Nice stable coin. Yeah, my Zigbag actually, my Zigbag did alright in terms of I thought it would blast out this range up here and actually pop up here, but it never did. I guess it's holding these lows. Yeah. Which is pretty good. What else? Let's see about ammo. So that's what you were asking about, wasn't it? Ah, the classic. Yeah, I mean, not the best. Not the greatest chart I've ever seen. Fucking hell. That is what we call down only. Been holding since 0.01. I'm at full thinking $5 is a target. What on PAL? I I mean, it's entirely up to you, mate. Like, I personally think that AI had a lot of its cycle. If you do consider stuff like Nvidia running, you know, causing like chaos in the TradFi markets, like, you know, that to me is hype, and that's like institutional hype. It's not just like the little corner of crypto, and I can't see it necessarily returning again unless it's something like actual, you know, robotics, like it's Tesla and what was it, like it's Elon's Optimus and things like that. But you know, this is why we trade. This is why I'll have an opinion. This is why I'll position myself certain ways, and this is why you'll position yourself in other ways. And this is why sometimes you'll take my money and sometimes I'll take yours. And that's kind of how the game works, right? I like that, you know, you've got the conviction though, because, you know, if I bought PAL at 0.01, I'd have probably sold a lot of it at like 0.4 or something. Or probably 0.2 actually on that initial run up, whenever it was. It was like this run here, yeah, like 0.2-ish. Yeah, 0.21. Like that. Well, that would have been a 20x in a bear market, basically, because, you know, it was pretty. Oh no, I suppose it was the start of the wild run, but still, would have been 20x, and I'd have been like, wee, happy days. And then obviously it bled, would have gone down like 50%, and then up a fuckload. OP has fallen off a cliff. Yeah, I've been I've said quite a few times. Yeah, it really has. There's the ARB chart, isn't there, that people keep floating around. Yeah. I mean, we've all shat on ARB a million times, and I think, you know, there's probably going to be a hated rally at some point off that very, very clean support, but it is what it is. Stuff like Atom, just absolute fucking top tier trash. Have you staked your Atom so that you get $5 of staking rewards, boys? Fuck. Dual 2.0. Thoughts on AIT? Yeah, AIT is still fucked. This is what I mean. It's like AIT. Oh, AIT is actually. Oh. I was going to say it's up a significant amount, but it's up a significant amount from basically a fucking down only chart. And this is what I mean, man. Like, a lot of AI, like, if you use this as a proxy for AI, like, you had one little run, and that's it. Like, it is literally being down only. Absolutely mental. So thoughts on this is it's fucked. And unless you get some sort of AI mega run, it's probably not gonna carry itself. You know, you're looking at 17x to all-time highs, down 95%. It's actually the Johnny Depp meme, isn't it? Do I execute your very low time frame rotations on second chart? Yes, I have this 1 second chart up most of the time on Bybit when I'm in position, but I usually execute off the. I normally look at high time frame, so I go like, let's say like whiff, right? So I'll start high time frame. Start high time frame on whiff. Like what we're looking at. You know, we're looking at basically. There's range lows-ish. We might actually make that a little bit bigger because really I want to catch these wicks. The support. Actually, yeah, down here. Okay. Well, I want to ignore that price action because it doesn't really help me. Yeah, I kind of want to ignore that as well. Come on. What do you think? Yeah, that'll do. That'll do in terms of where the volume is. What have we got in terms of divergences? You know, nothing. Nothing. We've had a nice little relief bounce, but you know, is this going to last forever? Are we seeing anything that's interesting? Not really. No momentum divergences, no reason to kind of think it's necessarily going to stop. Now we start seeing a bit of divergence in terms of 30 minutes, but actually memes have been pretty strong. So where are we at? Whiff isn't really on air, but let's just stick with whiff. Let's pretend it was pretty strong. Now, what am I looking for to get in on the? I mean, that's fucking garbage and liquid because of all the gaps. What are we looking at in terms of like levels? What are we looking at in terms of thought process? Like, how am I going to get in this? It's not really much for me to trade and get on the long side at this point because it is just like literally like TWAP up only, right? It's not particularly interesting. There's no real setups or anything like that. Let's see if there's something. I suppose there was something that we went on PopCat, wasn't there? I'm not saying I would have taken that, but it was just a like constructed like, here you go. Alright, so we've seen that there's divergences on the 15-minute or 10. Yeah, very clean divergence on the 10-minute AO across these highs. It's now selling off, and actually, like, realistically, like, you'd probably put your stop up a little bit, and this is where your thought process is like validated in terms of, well, actually, are we going to hold like these lows here? Probably there. I don't know, that is where it was. Your thought process is now getting invalidated, and I would have gone the high time frame route that we did earlier in terms of like high time frame. Have we actually tagged that yet? No. No, we've not tagged that yet. Yeah, that's what I do. So I go high time frame into low time frame, and then when I'm executing, I'm literally just looking for whatever chart patterns I'm using to get in. I like getting in at extremes like sell-offs and stuff, but I don't normally buy into that candle. So if you've got a strong sell-off on low time frame, so like now for example on PopCat, right? Let's have a look at this up, like see how extreme it is or isn't. Where is volume? There. So in terms of how extreme that is or isn't, like you had like this, and bearing in mind that this is only the perp contract on Bybit, right? So this isn't like an aggregated view of volume or anything like that. But really, like when I look at this, like I see the whatever it's called, like bullish hammer or whatever it is, and we tried to dip down, price came up, closed above, so therefore you get the candle printing like that. So that's usually a decent sign of like a small temporary bottom, but actually it's on its own, it's not particularly useful, because if you look at like this price action, you'd say that's a bottom there, that's a bottom there, sorry, that's a bottom, god, what's wrong with there, that's a bottom, etc. What I would be looking at is this. Going like, yeah, PopCat is suffering in terms of low time frame rotation. It's basically dying against the rest of the market, and what I want to be doing is trying to time like the reversal of that. Yeah, so I want to be trying to get in on that move to the upside, because when it does move to the upside, it will be, or I won't say it will be, it should be quite strong. How I do that from here, like ignoring all of this, it's not looking likely that, given we've basically re-accepted into this area of value, this is going to be the absolute low, especially because that volume candle, isn't particularly noteworthy. I'm just going to be looking at this, and when we start breaking this, or if we start breaking this, and simple downtrend and simple combination of relative strength. But like clearly, PopCat is fucking trading miles outside of anything else in terms of beta. So like I'm looking for like this, if I really want to get aggressive on a rotation. Does that make sense? Don't trade much yourself, just consider yourself an investor. Well, that's great. you know, if you know you and you know your risk appetite, you know your time horizons, like trading 1 minute rotations is fucking pointless. Like I will get outperformed by some guy who goes, right, I'm gonna stick 10 grand in PAL at 1 cent because I think it's the future of AI and I think it's gonna go to $5. Right? They'll spend 10 seconds on that decision, click one button, walk away, come back in 3 months or 6 months or a year, and they'll be right, right? Or they'll be wrong. But you know, if they are right, then in terms of time, effort, risk, all that kind of stuff, well, risk is actually quite high, but you know, the time, effort, reward cycle of that is much easier than playing low time frame rotations. Like obviously I manage my risk pretty well in terms of low time frame rotations, and you know, I'm not going to take like a 50% drawdown in a day, whereas if you are, you know, investing on chain, it's quite likely that you will at some point. Have you heard ATOR changing to anyone? No, I don't know anything about ATOR, mate. FET. I mean, like, this is kind of my point. It's like, why are people asking me to like look at this shit like FET when like my entire fucking, like, all of this is green, or pretty much all of this is green. FET is fucking red. Like, what is that telling you? It's telling you something. Like, even LDO. Well, LDO I think is shy anyway to trade, but like, why long something that the market tells you via price action what participants, and via spaghetti, what participants want to buy and what they are willing to pay for it. Are they willing to consistently pay more money for it, i.e. is price going up? In which case, that's kind of what you want, isn't it? Because you want to buy something and sell it to someone later for more. Like, why would you start going to the things which people want to sell for less consistently and are going down? I do not understand. What do you think of NXRA? I don't think I really think anything of NXRA, to be honest. I wonder if I've got an NXRA chart. I do. Gosh. Oh, we must have charted it at some point before. I mean, again, this is like one of those charts where you just delete everything, right? There was this massive accumulation way back in 23. Huge high time frame range, broke out of it, got a really nice move, and now back in that huge high time frame range. To me, any trade here, pointless. Close above, maybe that's a lot, right? If you understand what an XRA does, and you know, you quite like the project and all that stuff. And the reason I say it like that is because there's clearly no relative strength here, right? It's literally just fucking died from the highs. Price range. Gosh. Yeah, down 76% from the highs. I think that's a lot of the context of the market lately, is that, you know, the market is down a shed load, and you know, people think that there must be a relief bounce therefore. And maybe there will be, but how high it goes, whether we're going to get essentially a second leg of this bull run, don't know. I can't justify a long here until we basically reclaim. I know I'm trying. I know I sound really fucking pessimistic, right? And I'm trying to find a balance of not just completely dunk on your coins and be like, lol, these are shit. But you know, I also want to say what I see and tell you why I see it that way. Because if I see it that way, you'll understand why I see it that way, hopefully, and you can then go, well, look, Charlie, I completely get it. You know, I've got an opposite view. I'm gonna go buy said coin and come back to your stream in a couple of weeks and be like, ha ha ha, it ran up, I made loads of money, and I'll say good for you, really happy for you. But but yeah, that's kind of my thought process. So someone asked about INJ. So INJ had a massive run before, didn't it? Like, absolutely massive. It was one of the best performers from the bear market in terms of its move out and up. You know, literally pulled And it was a Binance coin as well. Like from the lows, it was like 40x, which is very, very good. We've had a pretty reasonable correction from the highs. So what, 65%? Happy days. It's actually really, really simple, my view on INJ, and it is literally like we are basically at the point of I want to go to a lower time frame and see how it fits. We are basically at that point of like range reclaim, which to me is really, really nice because this is where you can start thinking about actually how do I take a position here. You could even take this consolidation, to be honest, if you're being quite aggressive about it, and assume that the low time frame like range that's building here breaks to the upside if you want like an aggressive entry. We're consolidating basically on resistance. Like obviously I haven't drawn that line perfectly for the sakes of this consolidation, but you're at high time frame, form a support turn to resistance, you're consolidating after a nice leg up. I actually think that looks reasonable in terms of like beta from the lows. 20% move, that's same as some of the memes. If I go onto here, INJ pretty far up there, right? So pretty good in terms of beta. So yeah, like this, much better, much better in terms of playing for a rotation up to kind of here, I guess. Like RR of that trade doesn't look terrible in terms of something like that, right? But for me, let's just go here. I would want to be quite aggressive in trying to time it, only because your target is so close. So something like that. And I'd probably actually end up trying to play a breakout and just wait for some low time frame vol on INJ and try and position like even on the breakout like up here, alright? Try and position on that and just hope that you catch that leg of it and your invalidation will basically be under there. That's how I'd enter this. So when you decide to trade a coin with high beta, how do you know if it's too overbought or am I missing the point of the beta chart? So the basic assumption with beta and like this chart is that something that is massively in play and trending is going to stay that way, right? Because it often will. It will stay that way for quite a few rotations, and then it won't, right? And it won't, and you will inevitably take a loss, right? So if I long PopCat right now, I have no doubt, and I go, right, I've long PopCat, stops under here, wherever that might be, it might be. Let's go back to the actual PopCat chart. So there's a couple of things that I'm going to answer your question with. So let's say we've taken this trade, right? And we've traded that breakout, and we're now in a position like there. What is going to tell me that this isn't a great trade? And the reality is that obviously when I entered it, I would have been looking at the low time frame rotation, so I would have seen what was going on with PopCat, and I probably would have. 5 seconds. I'm long in this basically, so I am long in strength, so I'm at least long into some strength, and this is a pretty good rotation compared to, this is a pretty good like beta example of PopCat, and until this goes, and until it stops being decent beta, and decent beta to either the upside or the downside, because we're waiting, aren't we, with the setup of price action. So like when we had this, which was negative beta, i.e. it was going down a lot more than Bitcoin was and the rest of the market was. But during this period, you're waiting for it to change, and you're waiting for some price action to give you a trigger, and then when you get a breakout of price action confirmed by relative strength, you've got a trade thesis that actually this is the reversal, and suddenly we're starting to see it. We're still seeing it like in this rotation of Bosch. There we go. In this rotation, it's actually doing quite well. And when it stops doing well and it starts going back down to Bitcoin beta, if it does, which you'll see both on this chart, you'll probably get down to like here or here, which is obviously the stop and invalidation of your trade, that you've mistimed the rotation, which happens, right? Missed time rotations all the time. That initially looked like a good break. It was. It was confirmed by Spaghetti. Have we held that strength? No. If you're talking about high time frame stuff, usually what happens is we have a sell-off on Bitcoin. Bitcoin sells off. So Bitcoin sells off, and then as Bitcoin starts recovering and alts start moving, we get new coins leading that charge. So we'll be looking at like one second Spaghetti and seeing what's outperforming. So it might be like LDO, it might be Arbitrum, or it might be ADA, it might be something like that tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Right, I think I'll probably... Oh, good lord. Good morning. Like fucking the PopCap books are fucking wild, boys. I've been accumulating LXRA for over a year. I think it goes higher. Just need to hear another person's perspective on it. It's all free for me anyways. Always taken out on the initial 3x. That's great to hear, man. Like, I love it when people tell me they're actually fucking taking profits. Because a lot of people will like ride something up and just think it's going to go up forever. Myself included when I joined in 2017, right? Well, my first cycle was nuts. I cashed out like 10x my initial, basically. But look, there we go. See, there's kind of a... I mean, it's not a great trade, right? I kind of anticipate it going to the highs, but if we keep rejecting from like this, which was, you know, former resistance, then it's probably just going to fucking round trip. But clearly, it's trying to break out. Yeah, like, I cashed out about 10x what I put in 2017, but I remember Kobe saying, what are you going to do next time you see a chart that looks like this? And I'm like, yeah, do you know what? Like, it's a great tweet from Kobe. He did it in like 2018, 2019. I was like, yeah, I'm a fucking idiot, and I like, I literally fucking, oh, this is the future of finance. I'm going to retire off my smart cash nodes that are printing like thousands of pounds every fucking week. Sorry, my CRW nodes and my smart cash like dividends just from holding a ton of smart cash. That all of it went to like fucking nothing. Yeah. But anyway, that's a story for a different time. Yeah, cashing out on the way up. Just sell when you can, not when you have to. It's the old adage. Which is why I go back to the point at the start of the stream, which is determine how much you want to lose. Anyway, I've been your host, BTC Charlie. It's 8:30 my time, so it's time for a Horlicks and a bed. And a bed? What? Am I fucking retarded? And a night's sleep. I'm joking. I've actually got some stuff to do. Got to pay for my car, boys. But yeah, if you've enjoyed the stream, if you got something from it, thank you very much for being here. If you like and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff, it's vastly appreciated. It helps the YouTube algos find me and do all that stuff, and it encourages me to do more of these, to be blunt, as opposed to thinking that it's not particularly useful. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Got something from it, and now I need penicillin. You got a headache, did you? Oh, good. Or was it an STD? Anyway, I'll let you log off and scratch the itch, my friend. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for the likes, the subs, and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for all the questions and the chat participation. It definitely makes it a lot more enjoyable for me, and hopefully I've given my views, my knowledge on some of your throbbing questions. Good night and good evening.